And then in section 1.5, we're going to look at the last operation with whole numbers, and that's division. Division is the opposite operation to multiplication, and there are some vocabulary. Dividend is the number being divided. Divisor is the number that divides into the dividend, and quotient is the answer to a division problem. And I gave you an example. I set my division problems up is what I call the little house system, with the divisor outside, the dividend inside, and the quotient at the top. Now, you may set your problems up differently, and that's perfectly fine with me. You will get the same answer. When a number does not divide evenly, there could be a remainder. It is written next to the quotient. There are different symbols to indicate division. One is what I call the little house system. You can also use the division symbol, which is a line with a dot above and below it, and also the fraction bar is another indication of division. Since the division is the inverse of multiplication, you can check a division problem using multiplication. You would multiply the quotient times the divisor and add any remainder, and that should equal the dividend. In this class right now, your answer may contain a remainder. If you use a calculator, it will give you the remainder as a decimal, which we are not studying yet. So you may have to do the division problem using pencil and paper to get the proper remainder. There's a couple of properties for division. The property of 1 for division. Any non-zero number divided by 1 is that number. An example, 34 divided by 34 equals 1. Whether it's set up with the division symbol as a fraction or with the house symbol with the 1 as the divisor. And any number divided by itself is equal to 1. Again, 41 divided by 41 equals 1. Whether it's set up as a fraction or it's set up by the house way. So there's a couple of properties that deal with 0 for division. The first one is the property of 0. 0 can be divided by any non-zero number, and the answer is 0. So what that means is, in these examples, I can do 0 divided by 16, and the answer is 0. If I set it up as a fraction can be, the numerator can be 0, and you would have 0 over 16, and that would be 0. Or if you set it up on the house system, you can divide 16 into 0, where 0 is the dividend, and the answer is 0. So 0 can be a dividend, okay? You can divide any number by 0, and 0 is a valid answer. What you cannot do is you cannot divide by 0, and the answer is undefined. Undefined means you can't do the problem. Undefined is not the same as 0. Okay? A 0 is a number, it's an answer. Undefined means you cannot do the problem. So 0 can never be a divisor. So if you have 5 divided by 0, the answer is undefined. If you have a fraction with 5 as the denominator, the fraction is undefined. In the house system, if you have 0 as the divisor outside the house, and I'm dividing 0 into 5, the answer is undefined. Okay, undefined is a perfectly good answer. Again, you cannot divide by 0. I've had students always seem to get these two mixed up. 0 can be the first number. It can be a dividend. Okay, it cannot be a divisor. Again, we can estimate with division. It's the same thing. We round each number to the highest place value. And that way you're only dividing by one number. followed by a bunch of zeros. And so it makes it easier. So, for example, your total purchase for a car is $19,548. You take a loan out for 48 months with zero interest. About how much per month will your payments be? Well, for the solution, the first thing we want to do is we want to round each number to the highest place value. 19,548 rounds to 20,000 and 48 rounds to 50. We divide 50 into 20,000 and we get 400. So your payments will be about 400 a month. Now, when we're doing division in class, I will go over the process of dividing, how we do it. You should already know how to do it. And again, with this way, it's hard to use a calculator because you don't want the decimal remainder. You need a number as a remainder, and I'll go over how to do that in class. You should already have an idea of know how to divide. So that concludes this section.